Medical Dilemma.
Okay, welcome back to Medical Dilemma. To continue our discussion about child abuse, let's continue from the last question about parental rights, especially when the child abuse victim requires, medical procedures. As I understand, for a child, you need consent before a medical procedure is applied to the child. So in the case of a child abuse victim, who provides the parental consent?
That's very hard, no? Because definitely both mother and father exercise joint parental authority dun sa bata, no? And well, they can be brought in, of course, by the aunt, as we have said, even by 3 concerned members of the barangay or whatever. They can bring in the child. That is just the exception to the rule,
So,
So we should treat. The hospital has the obligation to treat such a child.
yes, but isn't it necessary to get some sort of
Consent?
parental consent?
Well, but if the parents are the ones involved, that's
Right.
a different thing, no? You don't need really their consent, but for formality, maybe you can, just to protect
As a matter of
especially.
fact, if the child, for example, is a party to the abuse, he waives or they waive that right over the child.
Right.
The doctor comes in loco parentis, in the place of the parents.
And even the state,
Or
father,
even the state, for that matter. It's just like being the captain of the ship. Here it is. A patient needs medical procedure. He needs surgical procedure. And the decision must be fast. You don't have to go to the parents. Because of the obligation of the doctor to do something. Otherwise, the child is going to die. So, the doctor should come in, being an authority over the particular case.
Okay.
I
Now,
think,
go ahead.
I think even because the definition, one of the kinds of child abuse is neglect, and the definition of neglect is deprivation of medical attendance when needed. So if the parents themselves are refusing to bring the child, then that's already a form of abuse by itself.
I see. Now, once a child abuse victim is rescued from the abusers, who has, the authority to take over and take care of that child?
Of course, the state.
The state.
It's the
and-
state.
or its representative, the
Right.
government
It's the state.
institutions.
That's why we have the SWD.
Now, what if there are some family members that want to claim the child?
Yes, it passes through some legal procedures.
Of course they can, because if possible, you want to not to deprive the child of their usual environment, no, in the sense that there should be family around, no, and that not just leave them into an orphanage or an institution, well, the SWD, no. So the better they're better off, really, actually, in a familiar environment.
I see. Would there be a chance that the abused child will be returned to the original family after the episode of abusing?
Of course, why not?
Yes, sir.
Why
There
not?
is. If there's really signs and, things that parents would demonstrate that in fact they are now ready to take the child again, well, that takes around psychological, medical investigation for that matter, or even the DSWD. Okay? If in fact they are already prepared, then with some precautions already, they will be instructed. Because it has already happened, it can happen again. But if the parents are in fact remorseful, then why not? They are the natural parents.
I think part of the intervention that they want the DSWD to do is also to include parents in the counseling. So part of the intervention in ideal settings, and it's part of our rules also, is that counseling be done to the parents. But of course, the situation would be different if the form of abuse is sexual abuse and the offending party is the parent, in which case the law will allow the court to terminate parental authority of the parent who is the sexual abuser of the child.
So it's only in the form of sexual abuse.
where the court can say permanent.
And maybe other forms, as long as it's extreme. That means that the
Does it
parents
include,
cannot
like,
be
child
re-educated
trafficking?
anymore.
child
Pwede.
trafficking is included in that.
Yes, yes.
I see. Okay. Now, yes, Father Jerry, you want to
I
say
am
something?
a little bit worried about, for example, Attorney Doctora telling us about the categories of child abuse, the four categories. I would like even to extend it more. Because the worst inhuman, cruel abuse is when the child is still unborn. When the child is still in the womb. Okay? Then comes now the abortion. RH would come in. That RH really, I have fought that RH. It's a wicked law. Wicked. Why? Because it does not respect the defenseless child inside the womb. If we believe, for example, that human life begins with fertilization, and right after the fusion of the sperm and the egg, life starts. And that is already a child.
Okay.
But Father,
So, of course, only to extend a little bit of that child abuse categories, and that of course, consists of these four categories. But we have to extend it there. It's the most defenseless child.
Father, but if my colleagues, my pañeras will agree with me, no? In the new law on RH, I think abortion is not allowed yet, no? And it has never been repealed. We have a law that says abortion, even if it is with the consent of the parties involved, is never legal.
Right.
It's illegal.
The law says one thing, but the practice
Practice is
is
different.
very prevalent.
Yeah,
And
because
as
of-
they said, there are already 300 to 400 abortions in the Philippines. In the States, 1.2 million abortions. Another one in Europe, 1.2. And here in Asia, around 1 million. How many lives are being destroyed? This is a great abuse against a life which has been, well, they're supposed to be angels that God had formed. They're all broken, not only broken, they are murdered.
I see.
I
Now-
see Father's point. That's really very, very ethical point, very moral. But as we always say, the law is superior to
Yeah.
anything else, if there's such a law. Sometimes we are protected by that law.
Okay,
Right.
now going back to the cases of child abuse, supposing the state decides that it is no longer feasible to return a child to the original family or to any relative or family member of that child. So this child is now committed to an institution, am I right?
Right. There's so
And-
many orphanages around already, taken care by usually very patient nuns. They're there. We have a lot of orphanages. Even orphanages of those who have been aborted and yet they survive. For example, those with Down syndrome.
Yes.
There are sisters who take care of them. And for them, these are beautiful angels. Maybe broken, but they can still be complete and whole in the eyes of God.
Okay. Well, even the United States government admits that children that are committed to institutions actually do very badly, after they are sent to these foster homes. Now,
I do not
what-
really agree with that, but
Go ahead,
yes,
Doctora.
sometimes, yes.
so, well, not
But
that
then,
I want to
if
argue
you
the
want
point.
to return them back to the original, they might be worse off.
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
I
if
understand
they got
that.
to the original
So, what
environment.
mechanisms can we, use or apply to make sure that the downside of committing a child to an institution is minimized or, if not, eradicated?
The next of kin, right, Father? They can go to a family
Can be
who's
the next of
related,
kin.
related to them.
Those are committed to, helping the child. But you see, for example, the nuns, no? I have always idolized the nuns because of the patience and compassion, no? They have graduated a lot of people have been orphans or have been committed to them because they have been abused. Okay? They are being taught with different interventions where they are most, I would say they are in their most or worst situation. That's the time that they put in their effort and their time, etc. But they can still be whole. They can still be whole. They may be broken, they can still be whole.
I
Like
see.
the two children that were presented to Pope Francis in UST,
Right.
Father. One of
Yeah.
them was raised in an orphanage, and she was taken away.
Right.
I mean, obviously from a home wherein she suffered physical and sexual abuse.
Right.
And as you said, they can still be taken care of in foster homes. When it comes to parental custody, I think it terminates in two ways. Number one, of course, by death, then you can no longer take care of your child. And the other one is when the court takes away the parental custody, or you yourself disqualify yourself from being qualified to take care of a child, like in the case of sexual abuse. Now, I do not know the rules of the DSWD, for example, but I would think that they would exhaust the next of kin when it comes to passing the care of the child. If there's anyone willing to take care of the child, who's I don't know, preferably next of kin. But if not, then of course the state takes over. Or if they will be taken into a foster home, then maybe that's God's will for them.
Actually, in the States, no, if the child does not want to go back home, a child can divorce the parents in the States. I don't know, there is no law here in the Philippines. They can
Yeah.
divorce. A child can divorce the parents. Many times that has been done in the States. Many
Yeah,
times.
Yeah. Even though they're
They
built
divorce
minors,
the
they're
parents.
considered minors
Even
still.
if they are minors.
Yeah.
More so if they are the what you call the emancipated minors. No?
Oh, they
If
got-
they are emancipated minors, then very easy. But those who do not like anymore to go to home.
But
I
how
think
do
I
you,
think what you mentioned about having problems in the DSWD, I think that instead of focusing on what may seem to be lacking in the DSWD, we can look at it as a way of for these children. Maybe it's not enough, and maybe we should do more and be more vigilant and put more funding in DSWD. But at present, it is what is available, and it is what we have, and it's a better alternative than sending them back home to an abuser. I think the greater problem is seeing, as Doctora said a while ago, that there are many more children, street children, that DSWD can't even accept or take in because there are too many children needing help and too few resources. And I think that's a sad reality. But that nevertheless, we continue to work hard and advocate for the cause of these children.
Anyway, I'm sure the DSWD will try to look for other places where these children can be brought in to be foster homes other than stay inside the DSWD institution.
is there anything that defines, how long the state must have the responsibility of taking care of a child abuse victim?
None.
There's
It
none.
will- but if the
So it can go on
officials or
forever.
and if the caretakers, administrators, finds out that there's already adjustment, or then they can therefore send him home back to his family, or maybe get new families for them.
I see. Now, what if we have cases of emancipated minors? Could that happen here
These
in the
are the
Philippines?
economically,
Yes.
well,
Viable.
independent.
Yes,
mga
they're
ano,
working.
Especially, for example, if they are child actors and
stars.
actresses,
Yes.
they have a lot of money. Actually, they are even richer than their parents. No?
But I think,
Emancipated minors, if they want to live by themselves alone, sometimes the parents cannot do anything.
But in the Philippines,
Oh,
do you need
yeah.
to go through a process to courts in order to be emancipated?
It depends. But you can go to court if you, as you said, if you're in that situation that you're making so much more than your parents, and your parents have a tendency to act against your
Or
interests
to
if you're
spend,
the child
yeah,
star.
to spend
yes.
all your
To
earnings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, so pwede then you can petition for guardianship, or the minor when he's already of age, like even kapag teenager na, he or she can file suit
The
in order
matured
to
minor, so to speak. No?
yeah, or even when it comes
yeah,
to
that's correct.
property, yes, he
They
or
should
she
have a
can
guardianship. No, they
place it
cannot
under
just
their
be solely out in this world. They must
So
be.
there still has
there
to
must
be a
be a
guardian.
guardian.
And incidentally,
Yes.
the child RA 7610 has provisions on child labor, and in case of those earning, they have a provision on what to do with the money. I think a certain percentage has to be placed in a trust fund. So the law tried to accommodate even this to prevent even the economic abuse on children.
I see.
Although I'm not really, I do not really agree about emancipated minors
Uh-huh.
here in the Philippines. I don't care about in the States. They are being trained to become
Very
independent
independent,
as much as
yeah.
possible. If they can leave the house, Early.
18.
Yeah,
Let them go.
They don't care. The parents wouldn't
That is
care
actually
what
the
happened to
big
them.
question in my mind. You
Oh.
know, who guides their decision making? No, I mean, in the
Here
States,
are-
yes, I can understand. They're
That is
more
where
equipped.
the dilemma.
Mhm.
Because no matter how the child is emancipated, he's still a teenager.
The mind, no, it's
He
still
does not
immature.
only need money to succeed in life. He needs a lot of other elements, psychological, emotional, social support for that matter. If he's going to decide by himself, just because he has money, something is wrong. He's just going to...
That is my
to-
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even in the States, right, all those big actresses earning a lot of money, the young ones, you know, they get hooked by drugs and
Right.
partying to really abused by
And after all,
others.
as young as they are, they commit suicide.
Yeah, they can.
And there's so many of them. And that's precisely because you took away all the other elements just because he is financially, well, independent. He's got a lot of money. That's not the only base. As a matter of fact, in life, you only need 5% of money in order to live life to the full
5%.
and with meaning and with katuturan at kahulugan.
I see. So you cannot see that happening here in the
I
Philippines.
cannot see that happening.
I think culturally, 30-year-olds still stay with their parents.
30-year-olds still stay here.
Ah, yeah.
That's right.
As long as they can, you
Yeah,
know, it's
so
very...
you bear your children with your parents and you live, you have extended
you're able
families
to
at
going
home.
to save a lot.
Well, and not only that, because sometimes the children feel that obligation to take care of their parents. They don't like to live. They have so much gratitude to the parents that they don't want to live. I want to be with my parents until they die. So they are still there.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
don't get married anymore,
And
no?
sometimes they don't get married. Okay.
think
Well, that's sometimes the problem. But if they're happy, why should you, what's it called this? Give other direction to the person.
All right, so we've reached the end of today's show, but before we say goodbye finally, may we have a few parting words from each of our panel members. Attorney Sugitan.
Okay, I'll start. Again, thank you very much for everyone for tuning in to Medical Dilemma and also to Dr. Ivy for being with us on this show.
Attorney Patdu. Dr. Patdu.
Yeah, thank you for having me here, and I hope that this show helps all the abused kids in the Philippines.
Okay. Father Jerry.
Well, child abuse is a menace in the society. We have to learn from the animals. The animals take care of the children. The small, well, the eaglets,
Some eat
they always take care of the young.
Father,
Why
some
can't we
eat
not
them.
learn from them?
Some
So
eat-
Okay.
take care of the children. They are God's angels. Don't break them. Don't break their wings. Make them whole so that they can always fly.
Dr. Sanchez.
Well, I just want to address my parting words to our colleagues, our doctors, no? Because sometimes, because they don't want sometimes to be involved, no? They pretend that it is really an accident, as the parents have told them. And so that's where I think they should be more involved.
Okay, thank you to everyone. I'd like to take this chance to announce the upcoming webinars and seminars of LifeQuest Training and Consultancy Corporation. We have a webinar about understanding the ASEAN culture coming up on April 16 at 7 p.m. Just check out lifequestphilippines.com for more details. Now, this episode's discussion has certainly pointed out the need for healthcare practitioners to keep abreast of the continuing debates about the rights and duties of parents, children, healthcare professionals, and even government. I hope we've been able to clarify many of the issues surrounding child abuse, but of course there are a lot more questions to be asked. Thank you for joining us today on Medical Dilemma. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please email them to heavenlycrestproductions@gmail.com, and we will do our best to respond to all of them. Tune in once more next Sunday. Okay, goodbye.
I learned my...
Medical Dilemma